Hi guys, it's Eunice from Theory of Simple. Thanks for joining me today. Today's video is a tutorial on how I created a little decorative niche out of a hole in the wall in my kitchen. So many of you know that we're actually in the middle of a remodel of this 1950s home, and the kitchen's a big ticket item that we're probably going to get to a little bit later. In the meantime, we removed this really ugly medicine cabinet that had been sitting out, and then we had a big hole in the wall. So I was just sick of looking at it, and today I decided to do something about it. This project cost me nearly zero to do because I used all reclaimed material from things that we've been doing with projects around the house, like pallets and vinyl flooring and some, I don't know what it was, molding or wood that I found in the garage, and some paint that I have that I use in my crafting projects, and a hot glue gun. And that's pretty much about it. So let's take a look and see what I did with this hole in the wall that became a decorative niche. I got the idea of having some wooden shelves by looking at these pallets we had, and I brought them in just to see if what I had would actually fit and become a shelf. These pieces were the ones in the best condition, so all I needed to do now was remove the nails. These pallet pieces were from rocks that were delivered to our house, so they were dirty and I needed to clean them up. Next, it was time to take some measurements. Then I just marked the pallet pieces with the lengths that I needed and then cut them with the chop saw. Next, I needed to make 4 stops so that the shelves could sit well in the niche. I didn't have any good pallet pieces left, so I used some leftover plywood. Next, I took another piece of scrap plywood and created a template so that I knew where I wanted to place my little shelf holders on the side walls. Then I just sanded down my little stops and then got them ready for painting. We had some vinyl flooring scraps left over, and I thought it would be nice to tie that in and use it in the back part of the niche. The beauty of this flooring is it doesn't take anything except a box cutter to cut through it and get a nice straight edge. Do your first cut fairly light and then put a little more pressure each time you go through the cut until you feel like you have enough to make a break. Once you have it cut, just add some pressure and it should break right in your cut line. Since we're not interlocking all of these boards, I'm just removing the interlocking backing from the boards. Once I had my piece cut, I just wanted to make sure that it would fit all the way up through the back of the niche, and that way I could use it as a template. I used an adjustable wrench to break off some of the smaller pieces of this flooring. I put my first piece on the bottom of the niche as a protective shelf, and then just hot glued the next pieces up against the back wall of the niche. This flooring came in different widths, and I only had a few scrap pieces, so I had to be strategic in how I placed them so that I would have enough flooring to get the whole back of the niche covered. And I wasn't worrying about everything being exactly perfect and watertight because it's not a floor, and I wanted it to have this more of a farmhouse rustic look to it. And here I used a drawer as a creative way to create a break on a smaller piece. Now I have the whole back of the niche covered with the vinyl flooring, and it was time to start working on the shelving. Since the plywood didn't actually match the pallet wood, I tried to get it to blend in with the actual flooring, so I took some of this gray paint and watered it down a little bit so I could create a wash on the plywood stops. And as you can see here, it's a pretty good match. And so now I took that same gray paint and watered it down again and decided to paint the inside pieces of old 2x4 so that it would also blend into the back of the niche. So this next part's a little bit overkill because I could not find my nail gun, so I just took drywall screws and screwed these stops into the 2x4s. And now the back, the sides, and the shelves of my niche are complete, and I just need to find some molding to tie it all together. I realized that the edge of this bottom shelf was going to be sticking out and looked a little bit raw, so I added some gray paint just to blend it in. Next, I found this thin piece of wood, and I don't know if it was molding or what, but I had enough to be able to create molding around the niche. I then took that gray paint and with a drier brush just slightly went over this white molding to create a brushed effect so that it would match all of the vinyl flooring that I'd put in the niche. I used a 1/16 inch drill bit to put a little hole in the molding so that when I put it up and nailed it, it wouldn't split the molding. And then I just used 2 finishing nails, one at the top and one at the bottom, to hold the molding into place. Once I had the sides in place, all I had to do was measure for the top and bottom, and then I could get those cut and painted and in place as well. And here's a look at how my little niche turned out. Next, I added a few fall decorations, and that completed the look. I hope you enjoyed my little hole-in-the-wall conversion into a decorative niche. It was really fun to do. It wasn't that hard. Like I said, it didn't cost me any money, and it was something that took about 2.5 to 3 hours to do, and that including all of my filming and moving the camera around and stuff like that. So if you ever have a place where you think you might want something that's decorative and you've got an empty wall, don't just think about hanging something there, maybe taking a bit of that wall out and putting in some shelving so that you have a little bit more of a three-dimensional space to create for your decor. Well, thanks again for joining me. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos that I'm going to be producing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That always helps the algorithm. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.